hello, and welcome to Spirit of Truth, the podcast. I am your host, Dr. Sherry Walker Shy. I have here with me today Dr. Rolundus R, and we are so excited to have him in the studio with us. Our very first interview, which is history, as well as shared with him earlier that he is history within himself. We'll share a little bit of his introduction and you will understand why. But we are here in celebration of Black History Month, and we're here to talk about the wonderful opportunities that are presenting themselves to us. So we're excited. We're excited about the energy. We're excited about the atmosphere and the climate that we are in to bring these series and our guests to you. We're so excited. So God bless you all today, and thank you so much for joining. Again, as I said, in celebration of Black History Month, we have Dr. Rice with us, and he's here to talk about his new book, Hosea Williams, A Lifetime of Defiance and Protest. So he's here to share with us, and we're going to just dive right in because we don't want to prolong the time, but we're going to just get right into our interview for today. Dr. Rice, welcome.
Thank you. So thrilled to be here with you.
Awesome. Dr. Rice is a native of Atlanta, and that makes this book even much more special. He is a native of Atlanta, Georgia. He is the actual first high school dropout with a GED, and to earn his PhD degree from Auburn University. Since the school was founded in 1856. So this is why we said Dr. Rice is Black history himself. He is a trailblazer. He is a gifted, intelligent man of God, and we are so happy that he is here with us. Dr. Rice and his beautiful wife, Dana, have 4 beautiful children. I love their family, and I love the what I see God doing within their family structure and everything that he is doing through their lives. So we're so happy to have him with us. Hosea Williams, A Lifetime of Defiance and Protest. Dr. Rice, how did you come about writing about Hosea Williams?
You know, Dr. Walker Shop, that is an excellent question. And I believe that Hosea posthumously chose me. Wow. And I'll tell you why. I was planning to write my dissertation on another topic. And I drafted the prospectus and I submitted it to my dissertation director at Auburn. And he didn't respond back for maybe 3 or 4 days. And when he responded back, he said, well, Rolundus, good news and bad news. The prospectus is good. The bad news is someone has already written on the topic that you wish to write on. I was going to write on a man named Joe Reed and the Alabama Democratic Conference. Oh. And I remember being in my office crushed, Dr. Walker Shy. And I said, Lord, what am I going to do? I've taken my qualifying exams. I've taken my language exams. The last component was the dissertation. So I first tried to explore some possible topics. And in those topics, I had to ensure that the sources were there to support the manuscript. And I looked around, I said, man, I'm from Atlanta. I know about Hosea Williams. Has anybody written on it? And I searched the literature, and to my good fortune, no one had. So the next question was, does he have any papers anywhere? Did a quick Google search and found out that the papers were at the Auburn Avenue Library in Atlanta. And so I did a quick search, went to the library, and I realized instantly that I had a dissertation on my hand. And so the book, what you all are reading, is just a retooling of what my dissertation was. I think I stopped the dissertation in 1968. So the book covers his life all the way through 2000.
Wow.
And so when I tell people that sometimes rejection sometimes only means a redirection.
Wow.
I was
That's good.
redirected to a topic that has yielded an academic publication. So it's an exciting time, not just for me, but for the family of Hosea Williams. So just so honored that God blessed me to write this book.
It's a phenomenal book. I'm reading the book, and I have just really been blown away already by what I've read. I fell in love with Hosea Williams from his outreach to the community, and just seeing his activism. I remember distinctly him going to Forsyth County for March and watching it on TV and in the news as it unfolded. I saw such courage and bravery in Hosea Williams, and it opened up my eyes to a lot that this man fought with Dr. King, worked with Dr. King, and here in my adult life, he's still fighting for the same causes. And so that kind of blew me away, that we are still fighting the injustices, and we're still fighting some of the same issues that they fought in the 1960s. So I fell in love with him then, and it sparked something within me to want to do more for my people and to do more for human rights. In saying that, let me ask you this, Dr. Rice. Do you foresee any other potential up and rising leaders who will ever rise to the level of the capacity of Hosea Williams or the founding fathers of the civil rights movement?
You know, my students often ask me that question. And I'll say that there'll likely never be another Martin Luther King Jr., C.T. Vivian, Joseph Lowery, Hosea Williams, or Andrew Young. But there are people who can be influenced by their contributions. And I think that by us writing their history into a manuscript form, that people know about what they were able to accomplish. Because again, our students cannot be what they cannot see, or they can't be what they don't read about. So by us immortalizing them in the history, then they are able to glean from those contributions and chart a path for themselves. All of us are influenced by something or somebody. And I know that my grandmother was baptized at Ebenezer. My mother was baptized at Ebenezer. I wrote speeches for Bernice King. So all of those elements poured into me. So I'm hopeful that the more our students are exposed to the contributions of what I'm going to call the real greatest generation, you know, King, Abernathy, Young, Vivian, Lowery, Hosea, then I think their works will inspire and empower a new generation. This generation, they are conscious. And I believe that it was James Baldwin who said that to be Black and conscious is to be in the state of rage every single day, because you know how African Americans are marginalized and disfranchised. So when you are aware of that, that's an additional motivation. So I do think these efforts to eliminate certain literature from classrooms, this whole concerted attempt against the 1619 Project, these are efforts to ensure that there are not another generation of King and Williams and Lewis and Vivian and so many others. So I think it is up to us. And I think it goes through two avenues, through the church and through our HBCUs. And they are really synonymous because many of our schools were founded in the basements of Black churches.
Right. Awesome.
So I think when we take those two components in place, we are able to ensure that our students are aware and exposed to hopefully one day rise to the level of leadership. And I hope I answered your question.
Yes, most definitely. In the names that you mentioned, I had the distinct honor and pleasure to meet C.T. Vivian. And that was a moment that I will never forget because, as I said, being sparked into activism and humanitarian through what I saw these great people do and fight for. And then there were others, you know, the women we can't forget about Coretta Scott King and Rosa Parks and Dorothea Heights. So these are people who women also who inspired me as well. But that moment was a defining moment in my life in meeting C.T. Vivian. And so I thank God for the opportunity to have met at least one of those great leaders through that time. And I'm sure you've met several of them. How has this book and your research motivated you as a leader?
You know, the book was consuming for me. And in my role now as the provost and VP of academic affairs at Russ College, I'm always looking for ways to certainly empower students and faculty, but also how can I become a better leader? And as a historian, I read so much about world historical figures, whether that is Napoleon Bonaparte or Martin Luther King Jr. or Franklin Roosevelt. But I saw Hosea Williams as a different type of leader, the way he could motivate people to risk their lives for a cause. That is powerful in that so many people had families at home, children, wives, yet they were still willing to sacrifice for a greater cause. So when I was writing this about Hosea, it was a constant exercise in self-reflection. What can I do better as a leader? This man, Hosea Williams, was a trained chemist, earned an undergrad degree from Morris Brown. He taught, believe it or not, he taught chemistry in Conyers, in Rockland County, before moving to Savannah.
Wow, I didn't know.
So he takes a job with the Department of Agriculture and as a research chemist, making good money, living a middle-class life. He had a nice home, and Hosea Williams thought that he made it. He had a white secretary in the 1950s. So to imagine a black male in the 1950s having a white administrative assistant, he thought he made it until he saw other people suffering. He said he realized that other individuals could not get a job like he could. He said, look at me, I made it. But then he realized there were efforts to stop others from the same opportunities. So he gives it up. He joins the NAACP, starts leading protests in Savannah that ultimately cost him a lot with this federal job. Now, leadership is about sacrifice. And I believe it was Dietrich Bonhoeffer who said that to be called to discipleship is to be called to die.
Wow.
Not always in the literal sense, but you have to lose so much of yourself for the cause in which God has called you to walk in. And ministry doesn't always happen in the pulpit.
That's right.
Ministry happens in a hospital room. It happens in a classroom. It happens in the club and the pool hall. So what Hosea Williams was doing, even before Ralph Abernathy ordained him, he was a minister, ministering to the voiceless, those who could not speak for themselves. And as I wrote this and as I continue to read it, I'm reminded of what a true leader is. Number one, temperament, values, and being willing to do what others are not willing to. King said it best, Dr. Walker-Shaw. He said that the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in times of comfort and convenience, but where he stands in times of challenge and controversy. Hosea Williams embraced that. He stood in the moment when it was sadness, and tumultuous, and then shy away from it. And every day, any event that I'm faced with, I must do it with bravery, courage, intelligence, temperament, and competency. To quote another person from history, Henry VIII said that to be king is to be an unnatural man, right? You have to be hard when others are soft, and soft when others are hard. That's what really a leader is.
Yes.
Being hard when others can't fathom that. So again, always a moment of constant reflection as I'm reading this book, and it's just a reminder to me of all I need to be doing for people. So that's how I see this book in molding me for leadership.
Wow. And that really answered my next question, which was going to be, are you inspired to do more? And that totally took care of that question. So we appreciate your time today. And just really quickly, tell people what major platform they can follow you on or find you on. We know that you have your book in back order to get more copies printed, and it is doing very well. We praise God for the success thus far for your book, and pray that you will reach bestseller list all across the board, all across the charts. So is there a particular site or particular platform that our listeners can follow you?
Well, let me thank you again for the opportunity to not just talk about the book, but to be on your podcast, and that I'm hoping that God will allow people from around the world to follow you and the wonderful work that you're doing in ministry. Before the book, people can find it on Amazon, and the press did notify me on Friday that the books are back in the warehouse. So one can order from the uscpress.com or Amazon or Barnes & Noble. And I look forward to hearing people's feedback, and just to know that this work could hopefully touch someone else's life, then the work was not in vain. So again, I thank you for allowing me to discuss the book on your podcast.
It's absolutely my pleasure. God bless you and your family.
Bless you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we thank Dr. Rice so much. Please follow him on the platforms that he shared. Purchase his book, and also we would like for you to support Hosea Helps. That's his campaign here in Atlanta, foundation here in Atlanta that feeds the homeless, that does so much for our community. We also want to share with you to be a guest on Spirit of Truth, the podcast. Please email us at spiritoftruth@gmail.com. We also would like for you to listen on Google, Spotify, iHeart, Deezer, Podchaser, or your favorite podcast outlet, or watch by downloading the PGN TV network app on Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, ISO, and Android mobile apps, Cross TV, or watch via TV web app at www.pgntv.org. Stroll to what's new on PNG and follow us there. We also would like for you to follow us on our major platforms, which is Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, by following Spirit of Truth, the podcast. Thank you so much. Again, I'm your host, Dr. Sherry Walker-Shy. Thank you for listening, and join us again. God bless each of you. Till next time.